we go. Please be advised, this will be recorded for ASB/TDC education purposes. Additionally, as a registrant and attendee of this program, you will be emailed a copy of this recording as well as links that are posted in the chat today. I'll introduce Rachel to you in just a second. First, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about ASB/TDC. I'm Lindsay Ramsey. I'm a specialty consultant here with ASB/TDC, and I am here to kind of help facilitate Rachel in this process. If you don't know who we are at the Small Business and Technology Development Center, it's a one-stop shop for everything a small business might need. We can help startups and existing businesses. We're associated with the University of Arkansas and affiliated with the SBA, as well as the statewide ASB/TDC. Locally, we offer complimentary one-on-one consulting and programs like this one, covering relevant topics for business owners. If you're not already a client, we encourage you to visit us at sbtdc.uark.edu. All right, today we're bringing you a program about understanding SEO, the basics of SEO. We love this format. If you've got questions, we want you to post them into the chat. Rachel will be happy to answer those maybe as we go along. I'll be getting those questions to her. You're welcome to raise your hand. We want this to be interactive, even though Rachel's got a lot of information to share with us. Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you and let us tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you can get started and let me know if I can help you along the way.
Perfect. I'm going to pull everything up. Okay. Can you see that okay? Okay, so today, like Lindsay said, we'll be going over SEO for small business, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute, but a little bit about me. I'm from Northwest Arkansas originally and moved around a lot and came back for college. So I've been back about 10 years, and I've always considered Arkansas home. All my family's in Pine Bluff, so it's always been my home base. I love being outside with my dogs, my fiance, my friends, and these are my dogs. Obviously, they had to have a spot in the presentation. And then from a professional standpoint, my focus is in digital marketing. And so that ranges from analytics, budget optimization for ads, or SEO, search engine optimization. I really focus on the back end of marketing, so less on the creative, beautiful front end side and more on the back end. I like to look at the data and understand what's going on, and use numbers and kind of research to understand how we can refocus marketing efforts. And then I really love working with the center because I do have a passion for helping small businesses. I think there's a huge opportunity. And that's one reason I love NWA is there's a concentration of small businesses here. And I think that's really special. So kind of what we'll talk about today is, what is SEO? We hear about it all the time. There's 80 million acronyms in business and marketing in it day to day. So we'll go over what it actually means and why we should care about it. What is a keyword? I'm sure you've heard that before. Requirements that we need when thinking about SEO for our websites, some free tools I use, and just kind of a process where to get started. So I put a little disclaimer in here. This is something Lindsay always reminds me of, because in client presentations, I get really into the details and the numbers, and we have to take a step back and be like, this is new to people. SEO can be a hard thing to grasp. As a small business owner, you're doing a million other things, and a lot of the times the back end work can feel the most overwhelming. It is a decent amount of research and understanding your customers, but you guys are doing that every day. So through this presentation, we're going to talk about kind of those steps, how to rethink a few things that you're already thinking about. These things are already happening in your business. We just want to think about them in a way we can structure them to benefit us online. And today we're mainly talking about keywords, as that's really the biggest part of SEO, is determining your keyword. So this is a base level of understanding and just starting to get your mind thinking about SEO. You see it every single day, you experiencing it. So we kind of want to train our brains to start recognizing things that are effective, that we see in the market, and that we can put into practice for our own businesses. So this is long blurb, but basically SEO stands for search engine optimization. So this is how Google, being any search engine, finds your website by using keywords and having the correct copy on your page and kind of following these guidelines that someone on the internet made up as deeming these things important for your website to show up. It just allows you to have visibility on your website. So it allows you to stay competitive, get attention from your customers, and just be able to grow your business in an organic way. SEO is free. Yes, it takes time, and some people do hire other agencies to handle it, which I'll talk to about that at the end. But at the end of the day, it's organic. You don't have to pay to do SEO, and that is the really cool thing about it. And that's why I really love teaching small businesses about it, because we want to be able to acknowledge as many free tools as we can. So why do we care about SEO? There's kind of two strategies in marketing when you break it down. You want to be in front of people when they're looking for you, and you want to be able to get in front of people. So kind of that in front of people is like if you're running ads or Google ads, if someone searches for you, you're paying money to be served over someone else, where being where people are is kind of SEO, that organic listing. So if someone is looking, I'm kind of using a bakery as an example throughout this presentation, but if someone is looking for a bakery and you own a bakery, we want to do everything that we can to show up so that you can compete, basically. And that leads me to, SEO is something that you can survive as a business without doing, but you will get to a point where it's going to be hard to grow organic traffic in some ways. If your competitors are really on top of their SEO and maybe you're not, Google has more incentive to serve your competitor's website versus yours. And on the flip side, I talk to a lot of clients who their competitors don't focus on SEO. So if you do, you already have a leg up. And Google starts prioritizing your website. They start paying attention to you because they understand that you are willing to put in the work and use their platforms. And then just kind of a reminder, SEO is not instant. It's not something we post and it's live and we're crawling and we're going to be number one. It is hard work. It takes time, it takes research, and it's not instant. It takes normally a few months for search engines to crawl new information, to know how to rank your site, and that's okay. If we start planning now, we can be in a good spot in the future. So this is just a little graphic, but everyone knows of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Moz is like one of the main SEO tools. It is a paid tool. They have some free options, so definitely go take a look there if you're interested in this. But they kind of did their Maslow's hierarchy of SEO needs, and then just kind of tells you what search engines prioritize when it comes to SEO. So as you can see, essential to improves competitiveness, like crawl accessibility. Make sure that your site has been submitted to Google Search Console, which we'll talk about in a minute. Compelling content. Are you providing copy and information that answers someone's question based on a keyword they're typing in Google? Keyword optimized. We're talking a lot about keywords today. These are terms that people use whether they know their keywords or not. But if I'm looking for a bakery, I go type in bakery, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm not typing in a place where someone cooks cakes for my birthday. Like, that's not how we search for things. We search for things using common terms that we have come accustomed to. A great user experience. Is your site fast? Is it easy to use? Do you have good UI? If you're using images that are huge and are weighing down your site, or you have a ton of videos, your site speed slows down, and Google says that's not a great user experience. So we might not send people there as often as we send someone else's site, because they're just very optimized and fast, and users have a good experience there. Worthy content. So linking, backlinking, and inbound linking are some terms in SEO. So are you, linking to other pages within your own site? And then if you're writing blog posts, are you linking out to other people's? The internet basically likes to see that there's this web of information out there, that you're acknowledging other people in a way that makes sense in your copy. And then title, URL, and descriptions. So that just is your first impression when someone Googles you. So you'll see it. It's the title and then that little description that's called the meta title and the meta description. That's where we want to really pay attention to our keywords as well. And then our snippets. And so this is just mainly playing to the search engine's back end so that they know what to do with your site, basically. So keywords is what we're mainly focusing on today, because I think that it obviously helps with SEO, but it also helps you start thinking about how to position your company. And a lot of the times it forces us to simplify our messaging and how we're communicating to our customers, which is really important. And so Yoast SEO is a great online resource if anyone is using WordPress. It's a really easy plugin on WordPress, but they have a lot of great free resources online as well. They define a keyword as a key phrase that's a search term that you want a page or post to rank for most. When people search for that phrase, they should find you. So when I say bakery in Fayetteville, Arkansas, I own a bakery. I've optimized my site for bakery, baked goods, and I want to come up for that. And then kind of determining a focus keyword is our first step in optimizing our pages for SEO from a copy standpoint. And then I just kind of tell everyone this, like, your ideal keyword is not always your customer's ideal keyword. I think a lot of the time in marketing, we want to get really romantic with our language and make things up that maybe sound pretty or exotic, but they don't have a lot of weight at the end of the day. Like if I'm a bakery and I'm like, oh, I'm going to rebrand what bakery means. I'm going to call myself, I don't even know what you're calling yourself if you're a bakery, but like I'm going to call myself the destination for flour recreated into something you can eat. Like that makes no sense. That does not resonate with anyone. That's not a single keyword. Like we want to focus on words like bakery, baked goods, things that people know to search for. And then just a little reminder, like we do this naturally. You're already doing this. How you explain, I often tell clients, like, how do you explain your business to someone, and how do your customers explain your business? Most of the time, we will use industry terms. Like if you're a business owner, it's really easy to use industry terms, where customers are normally a really good resource to say, we're calling ourselves this, but all of our customers say this about us. Maybe we need to do some research and see if there's some weight there, because if a lot of your customers are referring to your business in that way, that's probably how they're categorizing it in their minds and searching for it. So this is kind of a crazy slide, but just kind of showing you guys how what SEO requirements are for your pages or for your blog posts. And this is a lot from Yoast SEO. They make it super easy, but all of these areas where a keyword is really important is why I want to focus on keywords today, because it kind of becomes this plug and play. Your brain starts writing things differently. It starts seeing things differently. So if we can understand how keywords play a part, we can really start thinking about our SEO positioning. So search engines like to see that your focus keyword is in the SEO title, the meta description, the URL. I kind of advise clients, like URL would, if you are doing the majority of the other things in these bullet points, I would not change your URLs. Any URL that you change would need to have a redirect set up, and Google doesn't like to see too many redirects. And also it's just, if it can just be a blocker. So I say, don't worry about that in the beginning when you're getting used to SEO. That's, you can do other things that can optimize your page. And then your focus keyword in the first 10% of your product or page content, focus keyword in your subheading, in your alt text, which is image information. Alt text is really important because it's a big accessibility tool. So anyone who's visually impaired or using an e-reader, it will use the alt text to describe the image to someone. And then using keywords in your image slides in the heading. So we always want to make sure on our websites that live text is on our images. So you don't want to just upload a header image that has words in the actual design. It's better to upload an image and then have like an overlay or a little description on top that's live text. And when I say live text, can you highlight it with your cursor? That's a pretty good test. Versus if you're clicking on something and it's just an image, we're going to get stuck there and Google can't pull words from just an image.
Rachel, we do have one question that I wanted to ask you really quick before you get to that last point. Can you explain what a meta description is? That may have been in your previous seminar, but if not, could you explain that?
Yeah, I will just show it. So when you Google something, can you see this Google return?
No, we just see your SEO requirements.
Now,
yes.
Okay. So when I search Bakery Fayetteville, Arkansas, and you see this little blurb that it's returning, that's your meta description. And this is your meta title. And so some people will just call it a title and description. This is your URL right here. And then these are called site extensions or link extensions. Most of the time, Google will pull these for you if your site is easy to read and they know to be looking for you. So yeah, and that's where I like to tell people, like, you guys see SEO every single day. It's just starting to recognize it in that way. Like, this is your first impression with a potential customer. Normally, if you don't have this set and your like intro paragraph to your website is not super informative, it can kind of look a little bit crazy. It'll just pull whatever is first on the page. And so we'll talk about it in a minute. Like, copy is really important on your website because Google can serve, that first header paragraph on your site as well. A good question. And yeah, like I said here, use short, easy to read paragraphs. Google crawls your website, any search engine crawls your website like a human reads things. And so you think about, like, if I have this website with thousands of words on the homepage and I'm just getting lost, I'm bogged down in information, I have no idea what the point of the website is, I'm probably going to leave. And so Google ranks that as not effective. You kind of need to write copy how you read it and how you can digest it. And most of the time it's shorter, easy to read paragraphs using bullet points, headers, anything that can kind of break it up can be really helpful. And then we talked about live text. And then blog posts can be really effective for your keywords and SEO. So a lot of times I encourage people to write blog posts if they have a more specific keyword that they know people are looking for, but maybe it doesn't really have a natural placement on your website pages. If there's something like, say we're a bakery and there's something, a new baked good that's trending. Like, I think TikTok now creates so many trends that we never had visibility to before. So let's say that you see this new trending baked good or pastry and you want to, a lot of people are asking about it. You could write a blog post on that and really optimize it and be able to own that content in a different way that you wouldn't be able to on your regular website pages.
Rachel, before we move away from meta descriptions, just one quick question. Is it always the first line or paragraph from your website, or is that something you can go in and change?
Most of the time. So kind of websites are, when you look at the code of a website, they break things down with HTML into like H1, your header 1, P1, paragraph 1. And so that is how it's ranked. Basically, like if you have something set as H1, heading 1, and P1, paragraph 1, then Google knows that like you have set priority for those on your website. So it does kind of crawl in order. But yeah, you want it to be, and that's where this 10% of your product or page content comes in too. Like that's normally at the beginning. So that's that's an important part as well, which gets into a whole like back end development conversation that we probably shouldn't get into today, but site structure is a big part of it as well. Like you don't want to build your site where all of your copy is set as H1 or something, but if you're working with a developer, even if you're working with a build your own template, that shouldn't be a huge issue.
It sounds like meta description is something we could do a whole seminar on. So I'll make a note of that and I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, there's a whole back end side. We're kind of talking, this is very base overview right now. I already know I'm going to overwhelm people today, so we don't need to talk about the back end world.
Okay, little bites at a time.
Yeah.
Bites at a time.
So helpful. These are a few things that are helpful for SEO. And we kind of talked about this before, but you want to make sure your pages are responsive with a fast load time. Google has a few. You can Google like a site test tool or something, and it'll tell you. Google has one in their Google Developers toolbox. That's really cool. It'll tell you how long it takes for your site to load, and then it'll kind of say, these are the reasons your site is loading slowly. So I would really, that's a great tool just to go check out. Can be pretty enlightening, or it can be, really a confidence booster. Making sure you have smaller optimized images. So, one example of this is like if you're a photographer and you're uploading, your site is really photo heavy, that's not bad. You would want to make sure your alt text is optimized, but also you want to make sure that your photos are web friendly. And so, the smaller the image size, the file size is, the more effective it can be for your site load time. You can also use like, same thing with videos, like a hosting service or something. It's just so that not everything is weighing down your site. That's a big thing to look at. Most of the time, if you're getting a really slow load time on your website, it has something to do with images bogging your site down. Like we said, live text versus text in the image. Videos use a hosting service. So you don't want to just embed your videos straight into your website. That is really heavy and can hurt our load time. So, just throw them up on YouTube or Vimeo and you can embed those links. But it really helps your load time. And then using blog posts. So blog posts are really where you can get into like more niche keywords and really become kind of that thought matter expert, subject matter expert and thought leader through blog posts. So a lot of the times, like I do a decent amount of B2B work as well. And I'll be like, hey, this is trending and not a lot of people are writing about it right now, but I can tell that people are Googling for it. And if they're Googling for something that they're not finding information on, I think we can really own this keyword. So we'll write a blog post about it and go through all those optimization requirements that I showed before, and can be really effective for your site traffic. And then limiting redirects, kind of touched on this before, but if you take a page down or something, you delete a page, you always want to redirect the URL. Some website platforms make this easier than others, but there's a permanent redirect and then there's a temporary. So I would just kind of get yourself familiar. Basically, you don't want someone to Google something and click on a page that doesn't exist anymore, and then it just takes them to a 404. So we want to redirect their traffic to either our homepage or a page that's more relevant to them. This is kind of something I touched on in my last presentation, that benchmarking is so important. It's, hard to understand what's going on in the analytics of your business or marketing if you just look at it one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time. So I really like to use some of these tools that we'll be showing today to you can create benchmarks for your data sources so you can understand what does success look like, where is there room for improvement. This tactic I implemented last week is still bringing me traffic this week. Maybe that's something I need to lean into more. We can kind of draw some conclusions if we know what is a reference point of like success, basically. And then I like to tell everyone that while we can look at all of these online data sources, and it's really important that we have these tracking metrics, it's also really important that we're listening to our customers. Not all data is numbers or qualitative. So I like to, if I'm working in a shop with a client or something, I'll kind of be like, hey, is there something that your customers are asking a lot of questions about? Like any trends in what your customers are saying or asking about? I always like to write down and kind of do my own research. Like, is this something we should be writing about? Is this something we should be marketing about? If people are asking about something or calling us about it all the time, there's interest there. Let's see what that looks like for our business. So again, just gathering data based on how your customers speak about you, through reviews, online interaction, social media, in-store conversations, surveys. Oftentimes your customers will help you discover your keywords, which I think is really important. I kind of use this example of, say someone has a protein bar company, and they're thinking like, protein bar is kind of a boring word. I want to change it to health food nut bar. Well, no, we don't search for health food nut bar when we need a protein bar. Like protein bar is the consumer term and it's the industry term. So we always want to be using terms that our customers are using. Okay, so getting into a few of these tools, if you were at my presentation last week, some of this will kind of be revision, but the application is different. So Google Search Console is a tool that helps you report and measure your site search traffic and performance. It will tell you if you need to fix any issues. And it just tells Google that you're a website that it needs to pay attention to. So we always want to make sure, if you are not sure that you have a Google Search Console, just make an account. It's super easy. You'll have to verify your domain. And then you want to make sure you submit your sitemap, but there's a lot of resources out there for that. Submitting your sitemap tells Google to index and crawl your website. So that's the first thing. We don't want to do all this SEO work if our search engines don't even know to be paying attention to our website. It also allows you to understand keywords users input to find your site. And so again, this is where we can kind of validate, like, our ideal keyword is not always our customer's ideal keyword. Most of the time in Search Console, your first few pages will be like, especially for smaller local businesses, it'll be like your brand or business name, maybe spelled a few different ways, before they start getting into like the actual search terms of bakery or something. You can also tell performance metrics. And then again, you just get more detailed keyword information in Google Analytics, but you can connect your Search Console and Google Analytics if you like one interface better, or you just want them to kind of be talking to each other. So this is what Search Console would look like. These queries is what I pay attention to when it comes to SEO. And then this average ranking, or average position, my Zoom is blocking that, will kind of tell you how you add up. And these are all fake numbers, but your queries will be mostly like, oops, I kind of made these up based on the bakery. So if we're called Bob's Bakery, my Search Console queries are probably going to look like Bob's Bakery a few different ways. Maybe Bob's Bakery has really awesome croissants that everyone wants to eat, so that's in there. And then because the croissants are so good, people are wanting to find croissants near me. And then we return for search results for bakery in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and custom birthday cakes, all that. It will just kind of depend what people are finding your site for based on how you're positioned. Google Analytics is another tool, and all these are free as well, which is why I really like them. Google Analytics is great. So it just helps you better understand your customers. What pages are they going to? How are we acquiring users? Like a lot of the times I'll see people have really, really strong direct traffic. That means people know our website, they know to come directly to the URL. Normally second or third to that is organic search. So people are searching for something that our business or website, fits their needs for. And so for SEO, we like to look at organic search metrics under acquisition. And this is kind of what it would look like. Again, all fake numbers here, but you can kind of see where people are coming from and the percentage of your traffic. And so if we see that like organic search is our fourth driver of traffic, then we know there's really some SEO work that we need to do to bring new users to our site. And this is kind of month over month. This is how I like to look at things week over week, month over month, quarter by quarter. I kind of create reports for myself and clients, but because see how like July 1st with July 27th, like 889, that was a big increase from the month of June for this specific example for organic search. So it's like, did we do some SEO work? What has been going on? Were there more people in town? Was there an event? Are people, if you were like a physical location that maybe since like the world kind of opened up a little bit with vaccines, people are wanting to go out to more bars, restaurants, that type of thing. So kind of you can use this data and think, what do we do in our marketing efforts, or what's going on in the world? What could be driving some of this traffic, and how can we kind of draw some conclusions about how to expand that work for us? The next is Google Trends, which is really cool. Again, totally free, but it provides, a sample of search requests made to Google. And so we can understand trends while doing keyword research. And so I like using this because if you're a hyper local service, like you only do business in Fayetteville, we use different terms in the South than they do in other areas. And so we might want to compare certain words against each other to understand which one is going to be the most well received in our area.
Rachel, somebody asked, and this is why I love you guys putting your questions here, because it may seem basic but if you don't know and Rachel mentioned something, please feel free to put that question there. And if we can't get to it during the program, we'll make sure that we address it and follow up with you later. But Debbie has asked, what is an organic search?
Organic search is what I'm doing here on Google. So I say bakery in Fayetteville. I say what anything you search in Google is an organic search. Organic means someone is not paying for it. Where if I don't even know what to Google right now, like bars in Fayetteville, sometimes you'll see like no one's running Google ads on here, but sometimes you'll see like a paid ad at the top. That would not be organic search. So if I go back to bakery in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I click on Rick's Bakery right here, I'm going to be an organic search user, basically. So I will go hit their analytics for organic search. So Google Trends, I have a few examples here. So again, going off the bakery search term, I'm wanting to position my company. I'm like, okay, do people call it what I do? Do they call it a bakery or a pastry shop? Like I serve pastries and baked goods, but what do people call them? So in Google Trends, you can just Google Trends. I think it's just googletrends.com. But I'll go compare these search terms. I'll also do this for clients sometimes that they're like, we know this is our keyword. And sometimes it can kind of be good to prove to yourself, like, that is a word that people might use, but as far as search volume and interest, like there could be a better keyword out there that fits, that's more relevant. Relevancy is a big part of SEO as well. Google wants to make sure that it makes sense to people as the biggest thing.
Okay, is there a difference between organic search and like what's the opposite side of that? Organic search and not an
paid search.
Paid search.
Paid search is like your Google ads, Bing ads, a Google shopping ad. So a lot of the times I'll pull up an example really fast. Like if I'm searching for sectional couch ads, like these are all Google ads that brands are paying for. So this is paid. Some people will call it, like you'll hear PPC, pay per click advertising, paid search, that type of stuff. So most of the time, unless you have like an e-commerce, a big e-commerce presence, you don't really need paid search. A lot of the times locally, if you are local, brick and mortar, we'll talk about this, like your Google search or your Google My Business account is a really important way to optimize for local SEO. We'll get into that in a minute. And so Google Trends is really cool. I'll pull it up live for you guys too. But it's really cool because it tells you a breakdown by subregion. So I've done research before for companies in Arkansas that it's like, in Arkansas, one keyword, like we say this and other regions don't. And so if you are hyper local, all of your customers are in Arkansas, it might be a better decision to go with that search term that we know is, more common in the region or state that we're in. And then I just showed this as well as something that's different than bakery, just because there was a little more controversy with the terms, but this is what I wanted to show you guys, like, say we're a gym or something, a workout class versus fitness class versus exercise class. You can see here, like fitness class is pretty common, but there's a few little sub-regions where workout class beats out fitness class. So it's just kind of interesting to see. But in those instances, it might be something that maybe you try out the search term, you're kind of validating, you're like, okay, I've done this research across these platforms, and then I'm going to ask 5 to 10 of my customers when they come in to do a workout and just say, what do you call this? When you go, when you come here, what do you tell people? Because like a lot, like my grandparents in Southern Arkansas, they call it a workout class. And I think that's what I call it too, but they'll always say, I'm going to exercise. And I always say, I'm going to work out. And so it can even be a difference of a verb versus an adjective versus a noun, that type of thing. A lot. And again, that's just relevancy. How are people using these terms, in everyday life? So Google Ads Keyword Planner, this is totally free. You just have to have a Google Ads account. And this just allows you to research keywords. And so there used to be this really awesome tool, free tool that I loved, that they made you pay for. So now I just use this, but it's just a free way to understand keywords related to your business. Basically what I wanted to show here is like bakery is pretty popular, but has low competition. And so kind of lower competition lets us know that there's still an opportunity to own a keyword or optimize our site for it. If you have high competition, that means a lot of people use that keyword. This is an instance of Google Ads, so you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, but like high competition, if you ever did Google Ads, would be really expensive. It's really hard to beat out a few other people, but you can see like related keywords as well. So if I'm a bakery, maybe cupcakes are big, just depends on what your keywords are, but this kind of allows you to say, oh, the monthly searches for this are good, people are searching for this, versus if like I put a keyword in that there's only 100 monthly searches for a month, that's not enough traffic to really select that as your main keyword. And then Google My Business is like the biggest and best way to optimize for local SEO. Everyone should have a Google My Business account, even if you don't have a brick and mortar location. They just need to verify your business, but you can use it even if you run your business from home. You just block the location, but it allows people to find you. Google My Business is like very quick and easy to optimize as well. And when I'm saying all of this, again, going back to bakery, Fayetteville, Arkansas, near me, Northwest Arkansas, any of those kind of like regional searches, people use this a lot when traveling, when discovering, like even lately, in Fayetteville, I'm like, I want to go to dinner on a patio. I will go to Google Maps or Google and just search patio restaurants, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I've lived here 10 years. I know what's here, but sometimes we just need a refresher in our brains. So all of these are Google My Business search results. And so they're coming up because they have been optimized as bakery. This is a category. When you go to view all, you'll see that people, this is their description, which is a great way to optimize. It will pull Google reviews that have the keyword that you've used here. And then it works off of categories and services as well. Yeah, that's a big thing. And then related searches is really cool. So just another free source. At the bottom of a web page of a search result, you can scroll down and it will tell you related searches. So it's like, bakery in Fayetteville, Arkansas, people also search for these things. And so maybe if I'm a bakery, I'm seeing like, oh, people search for custom cakes a lot. I probably need a page on my website that I can optimize for custom cakes because that is something people are Googling for. Kind of lets you draw some conclusions and understand what people are deeming as important. Related searches can also be really helpful in writing blog posts. There's also, depending on what you search, there's also a feature on Google called Other People Ask. So it's like, what is the best bakery in Arkansas, maybe. Let's be more general. So like it's pulling this first because this is a blog post that's been optimized. But see this, people also ask. So this is a good this allows you to understand what people have questions about. If you can answer a question on your website or in your content, like Google says that's good and they'll send you there. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of the times I'll use these for like blog post ideas or just kind of gauging what people care about.
Rachel, will we have time at the end? Debbie has a question about Google My Business, and I was going to just hold that to the end if we've got a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm almost done with this. Oops. So next is just a little checklist. If this is something you're interested in, there's a million resources. We're going to work on a bigger SEO guide, but create a Google Search Console account or sign into it and just get familiar. Make sure your sitemap has been submitted. I suggest installing Google Analytics on your website. If you have a developer, they can do that for you. Or if you're using Google Tag Manager, it's really easy. Some websites like Shopify or Wix, even Squarespace, I think you can just put the Google ID in a little area on your site and it's really easy. I would log into Google My Business or set up an account, explore your insights, understand what people are doing, how they're finding you, and make sure you're optimized. Take inventory of your current SEO, Google your own business, see what's coming up. Do you think it's effective? Does that represent what your business is about? Kind of take a pulse check on how you're currently showing up to your customers or potential customers. And then research and determine the best focus keywords for each page. And you would do that using the tools that I showed you. There's a lot of paid tools out there that you can use too, but I like free stuff. And then you'd want to write your meta titles and descriptions for all your pages. You also want to make sure your page copy reflects that. So if you're using a keyword, we want to go add it to our page. We want to do all those things that we talked about before of making sure that the flow is there, making sure our website copy makes sense, it's relevant, our images aren't weighing us down, all of that. And then optimize your Google My Business. And that is everything I have on the topic.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
Topic. I was doing some encouragement in the chat on the side, just reminding people to take small steps. It is a lot. So I think your checklist is a great one there, a tool to work through. Debbie was asking, saying that she's not set up her website yet. Can I use Google My Business on other businesses to see what works best? I guess that's what you were doing. I just need to figure out how you got there. And
So you're
again,
saying like kind of do competitive industry research to understand, to kind of just understand what the market looks like and how other people are positioning themselves.
correct.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I mean, I can show you guys what I do. I get in these Google black holes. I told Lindsay, I was like, it's kind of just like blackout, and you have 80 tabs open at the end of an hour, and you kind of do all this information gathering. So, I mean, Debbie, do you want to share what your business is? You don't have to, but
Debbie, I'm allowing you to talk. You can unmute if you want to and tell Rachel a little bit more. And if anybody else has questions, you can put it in there and I can allow you to talk to. We've got about 10 minutes left in the program, and this is the interactive part if you've got some things that you would like to ask.
Yes, I think probably I need to do a little homework. I don't know where you're starting. You know, I understand the search. I understand what makes sense. I understand figuring out keywords, that sort of thing. I just don't know how to get to the screen where you typed in all of that stuff.
Oh, Google.com.
Yeah, you're going to,
Oh,
so you're
sorry,
going
you're
to
cutting
something
out.
called Google My Business.
Yes. So all of those tools, like if you were to Google any of those tools that, and I normally probably by next week, honestly, we'll send out kind of like, we have a guide on all of these sources as well that will kind of tell you where to go, how to get started, what you need. But everything I presented on today, those are the platform terms. So you can just, you can Google them. But Google My Business, if I click here, I have access to a lot of accounts, so I'm not going to sign in, but you would either sign in here or you know, create your account here to be accessing all of that. Same thing with Google Analytics, and Google actually makes it pretty easy to navigate to all of this. So
and then in your answer, Debbie, to see your potential competitors, I'm not 100% sure what your business type is, and you're welcome to put that into the chat if you feel comfortable. But if Rachel, example, I was opening a bike shop in Fayetteville, I would type in bike shop Fayetteville and then show them how you would see Google My Business listings for a particular business.
yeah, so if you're doing any like regional searches, any of those near me, Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, any of that, normally the first results here, these are your Google My Business search results. Same thing on mobile. It takes up most of your mobile screen with those. And so I would just hit view all, and you can see their listings. You would just click on it. And this is how, you know, we can kind of gather some information so we can see that they have reviews. I can go to their, a lot of the times people will use your Google My Business listing to go to your website. But the reason we want to optimize Google My Business is so that it serves our business to start with, you know. So they have a category on their Google My Business that is a bicycle shop, which is great. That's what I search for. That's relevant to me. I can see photos, I can see location, reviews, and then this is their description. So this is kind of like, you know, your first glance at a company. It's like, okay, well, let's see. I see these first three, maybe in my mind, I think those are the best three. So I'm going to look around, I'm going to call around. I might see what type of, you know, do they have anything on here about the brands? Do they have good reviews? That type of thing. And then you could always just go to their website from here.
Okay, it sounds like Debbie's early in her process, but in the hospitality area. So she would be able to use these searches to see. And Debbie, we'd be happy to help you at ASB TDC if we can help you one-on-one in your process as well.
Yeah, and if you're kind of talking about more positioning of your company, that like it's a good time to do it. Like you can think about SEO and positioning at the same time. You know, if you're like a restaurant or a rental company or you know, there's a million things in the hospitality industry. To kind of, yeah, just doing some kind of industry research as well as competitive research in your area. You can normally tell a lot. Like if we're using the bike shop example, once I get past the Google My Business reviews, it looks like Fat Tire is, you know, the most relevant or optimized. So Google's serving me that. Like this is their meta description here. So when you see those highlighted terms, I'm getting these search results because they have keywords that match what I put in Google.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else have a question for Rachel? Okay. Okay, Debbie mentioned that right now I'm interested in whether people are even looking for a specific business in order to determine the demand. That's a great question.
Yeah, that's where I really like to use, I just like, I'm not trying to be facetious in the way of saying Google it, but like see if the term that's in your head exists. Like, are people calling it that? Are there other businesses out there? You know, Google things that you would want to come up for your business, and then kind of you can go through that process of like, oh, I see these other businesses. You might find that there's not a business in Arkansas that fits that market, but it is something that exists somewhere else. So you could go look, let's say Maine, there's somewhere in Maine that fits that service. You could go see how they're, you know, positioning themselves, what words are they using, and then, you know, maybe that gives you an idea of a keyword. Then we could go into Google Trends, kind of play that game of comparing a few different keywords that might be in our head. Then we can go to Google Ads, use our keyword planner and say, okay, search volume for this is actually really good. We're getting about, you know, maybe it's 100,000 searches a month or something. Where we would say that's not great search traffic is like less than 1,000 maybe. But if you're creating something brand new that's never existed, then your search volume is going to be low. And that's kind of a different conversation. But most of the time you kind of piggyback off of something people are searching for. You can kind of like re-educate potential customers about your difference. So SEO, I use SEO to help inform marketing strategy and positioning as well, because we don't want to get so far into something and be like, actually, like, one, we have a new product, but it doesn't exist right now. So we probably need to take a few steps back and understand how we can educate potential customers on why this is something they need, why this is something that's important. You know, if you're doing something that doesn't exist, it's normally just an education opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel, for your time and all of the work that you've put into this. And thank you to our participants for participating with your questions. We appreciate you being here. As a registrant and attendee of this conversation, you'll be emailed a copy of this recording as well as a brief survey that will help us continue to serve you and bring you quality programs. You can find a full listing of our workshops at sbtdc.uark.edu. And you can sign up for notifications or become a client. We'll also post on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and Instagram. And please stay in touch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks.